Tavo, chapter 26, verse 1. This is the story of the Bikkurim. If anybody likes figs, we have a fig tree in our yard and we were collecting them and we gave them to, I don't know, you like them. We would have given you them if we knew you. Yeah. I didn't pick them because I have allergic reaction to contact with fig leaves, but we gave them out to Shia's friend Israel. Okay. Okay, Donnie, you read the first pasuk, the Rashi, and we'll go from there. I'm sorry?
First of all, you didn't press record. Second of all, ever since
Yes, I did. It's recording. It's recording.
sorry, Adam and Eve were also allergic to figs.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that was the whole question. What was the tree? What was the tree that hello there. There's a whole question. What was the fruit of the tree that they ate? Is a dispute in the Talmud. So let us go. Chapter 26, verse 1. Okay, Donnie, read it, please.
והיה כי סבו על הארץ אשר שם לוקח הנוסעים לך נחלה וישתה וישבת בה.
Okay, so when you come to the land that Hashem your God will give to you as an inheritance, and you v'rishta v'yashavta ba, and you inherit it and you dwell in it. Okay, so so this is going to be the mitzvah of Bikkurim. And before we get into this discussion of reading the Chumash and the Rashi, I want to make sure everybody knows. Eitan, very, very nice haircut.
Thank you.
So I want to make sure everybody knows what the mitzvah of Bikkurim is. Who knows what the mitzvah of Bikkurim? It will, yes.
Giving the first fruit to the Beis Hamikdash.
Excellent. So what? No, basically, it's close enough to give you full credit, but we can make it more precise definition. That when there's and that's what we're going to be reading about here. When one of the 7 species, the Shivas Haminim, when they start to grow, what are the 7 species that are special to the land of Israel?
Wheat, barley, dates, pomegranate, olives, let me think, figs, and there's one more, grape.
Excellent. So when one of the 7 species starts to grow, oh, Omer, I like it a lot, Omer. It looks so good on you. No, but I noticed it. Yeah. So when one of the 7 species starts to grow, so you go into the field and you tie a string around it and you say, this is the Bikkurim, and then you bring it up in a basket to the Kohen in the Beis Hamikdash, and you wave it in front of the Mizbeach, and when it's being waved in front of the Mizbeach, right before that, you say this passage. You say the words we're about to say, which might sound familiar to you because we also recite these words at another ritual. What's the other time we recite this ritual? We recite these words. Anybody know? The words out of the Bikkurim passage, we recite it another time. Does anybody know when?
What are the words?
Yeah, okay, we'll get to it, and you'll tell me if it's familiar to you. Okay, so now that we introduced it, Donnie, please read the Rashi. Do you need a kippah, Elon?
Yeah, if you have
over there, Elon. I have. It's just that you look so good in the hood, but you also look good in the kippah. Okay, Donnie, read the Rashi.
Magid shelo nischayvu b'bikurim ad shekavshu es aretz b'chilkua.
Right, so the mitzvah of Bikurim, this first fruit, is only once you conquered the land and you divided it, and then it was commanded. Okay, Moshe, your turn to read. Moshe, you read the next pasuk, and we're also calling you to read the Rashi. So you have to take v'lakachta. You shall take mireshit. You got one? Yeah, that's a great one. V'lakachta, you shall take mireshit. Yeah, looks good on you, Elon. You shall take mireshit kol pri adama, from the first of all the fruits. So you'll take from the first fruits of the land that your lamb gives forth, that Hashem will give to you. Go on. And you shall place it in a basket.
והלכת אל המקום אשר יבחר השם אלוקיך לשכן שמו שם.
And you shall place in the basket, and you shall go to the place that Hashem, your God, will select for you to dwell there. From the mitzvah of Bikurim, Rashi doesn't mention this, but I want to mention this, and somebody could look it up on AI because I don't remember exactly the sources because I don't know. I don't remember exact citations, but basically from the mitzvah of Bikurim, we learned the idea of first of all standing up when someone's doing a mitzvah and celebrating a mitzvah, because the mitzvah was done with incredible pomp and circumstance. And the Mishnah describes how the mitzvah Bikurim, they would dress up, they would carry the fruit into Jerusalem with a band, with music playing, and everybody would stand. And that's why we see from here that you have to stand for a mitzvah and honor the mitzvah. Do you find it? Say right into like AI. How do we know that how do we learn from the mitzvah of Bikurim that the mitzvah has to be done with tremendous joy and that you have to stand for a mitzvah? And they'll give you the citation. And then we could pull up the Mishnah in Tractate Bikurim that talks about this. In the meantime, while Moshe is doing research, that's called independent research. When I was growing up, research was like having to pull off the Mishnah and Bikurim and rifle through it. But now we just type it into, and hopefully they won't make up the source.
See, it says that the Torah.
Do they give you a citation?
V'samta b'chol tov, and then it says.
Samachta b'chol tov, you should rejoice.
And then it says.
They don't have. No, but they don't say the ritual ceremony of the Bikurim, Moshe. The ritual ceremony of the Bikurim. All right, otherwise I'll look at, okay, here, let me just ask them my question like this. Hold on. I'll just do it. Where does the Mishnah No, Moshe is good, but I wasn't asking him that.
We need a Jewish ChatGPT.
Rabbi GPT.
No, they have that actually.
Oh.
Here, I just have to ask the question correctly, and I was feeding Moshe wrong. I'm saying, where does the Mishnah Bikurim talk about the Bikurim procession? Okay, Mishnah Bikurim chapter 3:3:1. Okay, let me read it to you. Let me pull it up from Sefaria. Hold on, let me push it up. It's Bikurim 3, chapter 3, Mishnah 2-6. Let me pull it up.
Rabbi, it's here.
Oh yeah, I know, but I need it on mine because it's hard for me to read the screen. Okay, let me read this to everybody. Hold on 1 second. Mishnah Bikurim, chapter 3. Mishnah says, Ketzan mafrishin habikurim. How do you separate the bikurim? Yored adam metoch sadeh. A person goes down into his field. Viroat te'ena shebechra. He starts to see a fig that's beginning to ripen. Right? He starts to see the fig that's beginning to ripen. Eshkol shabiker. He's seeing a cluster of grapes that's beginning to ripen, or a pomegranate. Hoshro begemi. He ties it with a gemi. What's a gemi? Like a string. And he says, Harei elu bikurim. These are my bikurim. Okay, so then Ketan Malanas Bikurim. This is what I was referring to. How does he bring up the Bikurim? All the inhabitants of the cities of the Mamad. What's the Mamad? There were a group of what? There were a group of Yisraelim who would non-Kohanim, whose job it would be to come to the temple 1 week a year and recite the prayers, and they would also recite the prayers in their hometowns during the week. So all the people of those cities, Miskansos La'ir Shal Mamad, they would assemble in the city of the Mamad, Vilanin Berchov Shal Ir, and they would sleep in the street of the city. They wouldn't. So everybody's sleeping in the streets. They didn't even go into their houses. And in the morning, let's get up. You imagine a person comes up, the crier comes up in the morning, everybody's sleeping in the street, and the crier gets up in the morning and says, "Arise, we are all walking to Zion and Jerusalem." So can you imagine this amazing thing? And then the people who live near Jerusalem, Akrovim, Meviyim Ata'enim Va'anavim, the people who live close to Jerusalem would bring the figs and the grapes, V'arachokim, and the people who live far away will bring the grogroros v'tzimukim. They'll bring the dried figs and the raisins. Means say if you live close, you would bring the fresh fruits. If you live far, here Neorai, grab a chumash Neorai. Where are they? So and then this is what I was saying. So the people who live close would bring the fresh fruits. The people who live like a little bit farther away, like in the outskirts of the land, their fresh fruits would spoil. So they would bring the dried figs and the dried raisins, so they wouldn't spoil. And the ox would walk before them. Vikarnov mitzupos zav. They would take gold. And they would cover the horns of the ox. V'ateret shel zayit berosho, and they would put a crown of olive branches on the head of the ox. Already you're seeing that they would designate the cow basically to make it gold and to make it look like gold and a crown on its head. Hachalil makelef nehem, the chalil, the flute, would play before them until they became close to Jerusalem. Once they reached close to Jerusalem, once they drew close to Jerusalem, they would send messengers in front of them. The itru es bikureim, and then they would make their fruits. They would make their fruits look beautiful. They would beauty up their fruits. Hapachot, and then the governors, haskanim v'gizbarim yotzim l'krasim, all the officers of Jerusalem, the muckety mucks, the bureaucrats would all go out to greet them. And basically, according to the people going in, that's what people would come out. They'd go out to meet them. All the people who are in the different professions in Jerusalem would stand before them. And they would ask about their welfare and they would say, come in peace. Basically an incredible scene. And this is the source. Has anybody ever been to a Jewish wedding?
Yeah.
You ever see what happens when the bride and groom walk down the aisle? What do people do?
Stand up.
Why are they standing up? Why are you standing up for the bride and groom? Why? Because the bride and groom are doing a mitzvah. When someone's doing a mitzvah, we stand up. And that's why also at a bris. Anybody here ever been to a bris? I assume that these boys were all at their own bris. But Moshe's got a lot of siblings. You have brises, right? What?
A lot of brises.
Yeah. So what do you do when the baby comes down the aisle?
Stand up.
Stand up. Why? Because he's doing a mitzvah. The baby's doing a mitzvah, so we stand up. Yes, Eitan?
Why do we sit down when we're reading from the Torah then? Because isn't that like a really big mitzvah?
You mean studying Torah?
Or anything, yeah.
Torah study. No, you're asking a great point, Eitan. So if you ever see me when we read the Torah upstairs, I haven't sat down when the Torah is read in over 30 years because they're not following the law. The law is that when the Torah is being read upstairs, when we're doing Torah reading, you're supposed to stand. You're supposed to stand. You're certainly supposed to stand. I mean, I don't press it on people because it's too much to tell people all the things, like to nitpick against all the things that people need to correct. So I try not to do too much at once. But you're absolutely correct, Eitan, that according to halacha, you're supposed to be standing when the Torah is being read. Certainly, for sure, when the bracha is made, you're supposed to be standing. And it's just hard for a lot of people if you're elderly. But if you're somebody like you, Eitan, who's a strong boy, he's in good shape, he works out, he does the planking every day, you should have no problems, zero problems doing standing. Okay, just read a couple more points from this thing. Then the flute is playing before them until they reach the Temple Mount. When they reached the Temple Mount, even King Agrippus would take the basket and place it on his shoulder and walk as far as the temple court. When he got to the temple court, the Levites would sing. And what would they sing? Aromimcha Hashem ki dilitani. I exalt you, God, because you lifted me up. And my enemies are not rejoicing over me. The birds tied to the basket were brought as a korban, and everything that were in their hands were given to the Kohanim. And then while the basket is still on his shoulder, he would read from the passage which we're about to be. And the Gemara says here, and then after he reads this passage, which we'll see from the Torah, the Kohen would place his hands under the basket, under the hands of the Yisrael, and he would wave it. And then he would read this passage. After he waved it, he would read this passage. And then he would read, so he would read up to Arami Ovid Avi, which we'll read, and then once he read Arami, then once we waved it, then he would read Arami Ovid Avi. So then, okay, fine. But I'll just tell you one more thing before we continue in the Chumash and the Rashi here, that this is an example, the Gemara says that this is an example of how the mitzvah of Bikkurim is an example of, we saw this phrase recently in the Daf Yomi, poverty follows the poor. But the Gemara says this is an example of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You know how? Because they would bring up their fruits to the Kohen in the basket, and poor people would bring it in these these like little cheap wicker baskets, which you could buy at the dollar store. So when they're finished with the waving, the Kohen would take the fruits with the basket. He's not going to return the basket. It's a little $2 basket. But the wealthy people, they would bring the basket in silver. They would bring the fruit in silver baskets, in gold baskets. So when the Kohen was done, he would return the basket. So the rich stayed the same, and the poor got poorer. The rich got richer, they got their basket back, and the poor got poorer. The rich really didn't, technically speaking, got richer. They stayed richer. But the poor lost it. You follow that, Elon?
Rabbi, it strikes me that there's too much attention to the falsehood of status here. First, in terms of the people greeting the visitors, based on their social status. I thought that the Mishnah would be a little bit more, emes, as opposed to the.
It says they were trying to make it more special ceremony, and so that's the way of the world. That people are in positions of authority, it makes it even more special.
But last week we learned about 2 weeks ago, but Lotot Mishpat that you.
But I will say that if you look at the Mishnah again, you'll notice that it said even a king Agrippus would take the basket on his shoulder. So it shows for a mitzvah, even the king was humbled before the mitzvah. Okay, Moshe, read the Rashi, please. Meireshit.
Rashi below kol Rashi.
But not the entire first, meaning to say you don't bring all the first of the fruits, you just bring some of the first fruits. Go on. Not all fruits are obligated in the mitzvah of Bikkurim. Only the 7 species, which Will said for us beautifully.
Nemar Khan Eretz, Nemar Lahalan Eretz, Chito Zara.
It says here the land Eretz, and it says above also the land of wheat and barley. Go on. Just like there, it's referring to the 7 species. By which land of Israel is praised?
Afkan Shevach Eretz Israel.
So here it's only the mitzvah Bikkurim only applies to the praise of the land of Israel. Okay, go on. That these are the 7 speeches, and he's going to list it. Zayit Shemen, what does that refer to?
Olive oil.
Zayit Aguri, the Aguri olive. Go on.
Shamnu
Agur betocho, that the oil is collected in it. Udevash, it's not bee honey, but it's date honey. If anybody was wondering what kind of honey is it, it's date honey, as Will said correctly, dates. Okay, go on to the next Rashi, Moshe.
Adam Yorei L'toch Shadei.
No, Adam Yorei L'toch Sadeu. Man goes into his field.
Veroet Chena.
Go on.
Shebikra.
And he sees the fig is beginning to ripen.
Korich ala Gami.
He ties a cord around it. Siman as a sign.
Ve'omer Hareze Bikkurim.
Okay, so let's say I have a fig tree in my yard. So should I do this to my fig tree?
No, because
it's not in the land of Israel. And also today we can't do this because we can't do the mitzvah of Bikkurim anymore. We can't bring what are we going to do? We don't know who's a Kohen. We're not allowed to do any ceremonies. We can't bring any karbanos today. So today we don't do this mitzvah of Bikkurim. Okay, Eitan, I'd like you to read the 3rd pasuk, and then we'll read the Rashi. Yeah, go on.
Uvat
Uvata
al hakohen
Uvata el HaKohen
asher yihyeh bayamim ha'em ve'amarta alav higaditi hayom
Hashem
Hashem elecha
Elokecha
ki ba'ati al haaretz asher
Nishba
nishba
Hashem.
Hashem votinu late lanu.
Excellent, Eitan. Excellent. So, Vatal Kohen, you'll come to the Kohen. Asher Yabeyamimahim. They'll be in those days. And you'll say to him, Igadati Ayom Hashem Okecha. And you'll say to him, I declare today, Higadati Ayom, I declare today to Hashem, your God, Kivati Arts, that I've come to the land that Hashem, our God, has sworn to give to us. Okay, will you please read the Rashi?
Of course. Asher Yabam
That will be in those days.
Ein lecha ela kohen shebeyamecha kemo shehu.
Okay, stop for 1 second. Let's read that Rashi. What does it mean you'll come to the Kohen in those days? Ein lecha, what does that mean?
You don't have.
You only have Kohen shebeyamecha. All you have is the Kohen in your days. What does that mean?
Like you can't use kohen from.
Well, you might have said, listen, I mean, I don't know, there's nobody here as a Kohen, but you might have said, let's say the base of Mikdash is built, tomorrow, and then you go up and you see, oh, this guy, he goes to Burma with me. This is the Kohen? This is the Kohen? Well, I imagine you bring it to Aaron, not Kohen. They used to bring it to Aaron. He was somebody special. Or maybe I brought it to, like, one of the Kohanim that are listed, the Kohanim Chashubi Eretz Yisrael, and the Gemara lists Rabbi Yami and Rav Asi as the distinguished Kohanim of Eretz Yisrael. This guy, he sits next to me in college. He sits next to me in Montgomery College. He sits next to me in University of Maryland. He's a schlump like me. He's nobody special. So you might say, why do I have to give it to him? He's nobody special. So the answer is, and this is also has to do with rabbis and leaders. All you have is the Kohen in your days. You can't say, oh, I had a Kohen, a different Kohen. Hello, Max. The Moel is here. The Moel is here. All you have is the Kohen in your days. You can't say, oh, I wish I had a different Kohen. No, learn to love the one you've got. That's what you got, Moshe. Don't start saying, oh, the good old days we have better. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Kamoshe who?
Marta Elav she Einach Kefui Tova.
Okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? Sheincha kefoi tova, that you're not ungrateful. The basic point of this mitzvah of Bikkurim is this idea. It's this idea of the one word, which is gratitude. Gratitude. This mitzvah is about showing our gratitude to Hashem. Now, basically, we're supposed to tell Hashem, thank you for bringing us into this land. You kept your promise to us. We're obligated to bring our fruits to you and say this phrase that Hashem, you brought us to this point in our life. That's the purpose of it. That means the mitzvah Bikkurim you have to do once a year, not twice. Okay, excellent. Okay, Eitan, Mr. Kovacs. Will you read the next pasuk, Eitan? Wait, I think you skipped one. Lakacha Kohen. Right? The Kohen will take the basket. The tenna is the basket. The Kohen will take the basket from your hand. And he will place it. Before the altar of Hashem. Okay, let's read the Rashi. Would you feel comfortable reading the Rashi, Eitan?
Yeah.
Okay. He takes it to wave it.
Kohen Maniach Yado Tapas Yad Olim.
The Kohen places his hand under the hands of the owner, umenif, and he waves it. Okay, Omer, vakasha, now לקרוא את פסוק ה'. Omer, vakasha. ואני תביא אמרת. ויגר.
שם בינתי מעט ויהי שם לגוי גדול עצום ורב.
Okay, you might have noticed this passage. Does anybody know when else we read this passage of the Bikkurim? Pesach at the Seder. At the Seder, the bulk of the Haggadah is a midrash on these psukim right here. And now you have to ask yourself the question, why is this selected as the bulk of the Haggadah? Why isn't the Haggadah come from the Exodus story? Why is this the bulk of the Haggadah? And well, maybe address that question tomorrow. We'll go into this passage tomorrow. Hopefully Omer will pick up reading from right here tomorrow. But for now, before we daven mincha, we have 2 minutes. Guess what we're going to do?